Welcome to the Surgery and Therapy Summit. Today I have Barry Mitchell, who is a sales specialist as well as a specialist in the financial arena, who is going to be presenting two talks at the Surgery and Therapy Summit. And today we're going to find out a little bit more about him. Welcome, Barry.
Hey, Robin. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for inviting me onto this platform, and great to be part of this project.
Yeah, well, you made a huge impact on my life probably about 4 years ago now at the Real Entrepreneur Live Summit when we had live events where we had about 5,000 people. And I remember you came on stage and I was immediately struck with your confidence and the whole way you delivered yourself. And I thought, wow, that is a goal for me, be a speaker like Barry. So that was my first impression.
Thank you for the feedback. I wasn't always like that, but it's been a relatively long journey to get there. But it's like anything, I suppose. You want to be the best hand surgeon in the world. It doesn't happen when you leave university, does it?
No, absolutely. We all evolve. And I suppose one of the reasons why I was at that conference was because I was about to launch my online course that I just developed. And I thought, okay, well, I've done the academic hard work. Now, how do I sell this?
Yeah.
And I was just very fortunate because I upgraded at the summit and purchased your sales program and came and spent 4 days with you. And I remember you got me all hot under the collar when I had to deliver that speech, the JFK speech. But I have to tell you that I still use that snippet in my opening presentations to the new therapists who sign up to show them what it's really all about, what the behind the scenes is all about, what the blood, sweat, and tears is all about. So I've had a great personal experience with you, but do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and where you started and how you got to be where you are today?
Yeah, thanks, Robin. So exciting to hear that you still use that little snippet. I think, it's always interesting. I mean, before I tell you a little bit about myself, it's always interesting though, isn't it? When you actually look back, it's actually often the seemingly small things that make the biggest impact. And so many times people think it has to be this intergalactic, massive thing, but it's often just the little things that we push ourselves through, isn't it? That
Yeah.
creates that change. So thanks for the question. Who am I? I'm just an ordinary guy like everybody else. I put my trousers on exactly the same as everyone else, one leg at a time. I grew up in a country called Zimbabwe, which is close to South Africa. Those South Africans or Africans know where that is. Those of you from the rest of the world may or may not know where that is. And I grew up in I suppose, a regular sort of middle class income family. My dad was a farmer and had a little mining business. My mother was a teacher, assisted my dad a lot on the farm. And I grew up in that typical mindset of, go to school, get a great education, study hard, get good grades, and that'll allow you to get a good job or have a good career and you'll make lots of money and you'll retire. And counter to, most people, I it's not what I wanted to do. I never wanted to do that. I didn't fit into that mold. And I know I didn't fit into that mold. I started my first business when I was 16 at boarding school. Recollections, when you speak to my sisters, they will always tell you that, over the period of my existence, I used to borrow their stuff and sell it so that I could make some money and fund the things that I needed. So I was always entrepreneurial. My mother, being a teacher, wouldn't hear anything of that. Sent me to university. I went to university. I had a wonderful time for 2 years. Never went to lectures, never passed. Long story, got kicked out of university, went back home, started working for my dad for a bit, went back to the School of Mines, which I didn't really connect with, again, a tertiary institution. And then I was encouraged by my mum and my dad to move out of home and go find something to do. And ultimately, what does a self-respecting failure become? Well, there's a couple of options. One is a sales rep. And I went into sales. And And that was how my career started. I've been in sales nearly 30 years, but it was a very profound moment for me because I started selling cars. I got a job as a car salesman. I started selling cars, and it took me 3 weeks to sell my first car. And it was in that moment that I realized that everything that I'd been taught, everything that I'd been pushed into all my life about making money was not true. Whether I had a degree or didn't have a degree, whether I was, whether I had an incredible idea or didn't have an incredible idea, whether I came from a very wealthy family or didn't come from a wealthy family, it actually didn't. Yes, it had a bearing. So I won't say it didn't have any bearing. Yes, it does have a bearing. But the reality is I realized that the fundamental skill required to make money in this world. And I sold my first car, and with selling my first car, I earned commission. And in earning commission, I realized what made money. It was the ability to sell. It wasn't the fact that I had a degree or didn't have a degree. And in this environment, I'm not saying this, to degrade anyone that has a degree, but a lot of times I think we get stuck in this. I have an education, so an education will make sure I get money. Well, in the medical world, I look at, you could take any GP, for example. You could have a GP, same degree, and I say this, generalizing, same degree, and they become a doctor. Well, they can work for the government, they can work for free for charity, they can work for their own practice, or they can own a hospital, for example. Well, all of them will make different types of money. But in all those things, it has to have a different type of business acumen, a different type of mindset, and a different type of ability to be able to do the most important skill in business and in life, and that's to sell. And I learned that nearly 30 years ago. And in that moment, I actually made a decision. If there's nothing else I learn and there's nothing else I want to master, I want to master the art of sales. And that's how I started. I got into selling, and I absolutely loved it. And I realized that over a period of time that what most people think sales is not what sales is. And that's what I'm going to be talking a lot around, is what selling really is, and how misperceived and how many misperceptions there are, and around what sales really is. And so, yeah, that's, I've been in sales for nearly 30 years. It's what I've done. I learned very early on that sales equals income and income equals life. The better you sell, the better you earn, the better you earn, the better you live. And yeah, I haven't worried about money since then. No, let me put a proviso on that. It doesn't mean I've always had money, because I've made some stupid mistakes, got into some business dealings that didn't work. I've had to learn the other side of money, which is how money makes money. And that's the other talk that I'm going to be doing is around financial literacy and financial intelligence, because there's two critical skills. Doesn't matter who we are, doesn't matter what career we have, is when it comes to creating wealth. There's two critical skills. One is the ability to sell, because sales generates income, and two, there's the ability to take that income and make that income make income. And I'll ask you, Robert, did you learn either of those things at school?
No.
And you're a highly educated person, and I believe that's the same. School today still does not teach the two most fundamental skills when it comes to wealth, and that's the ability to sell and the ability to get money to make money. And so, yeah, so I've spent 30 years predominantly as an entrepreneur. I spent a bit of time in the corporate world to get some experience, but I've predominantly been an entrepreneur. And for the last 15 years, I've been very blessed. I've been able to travel around the world. I've taught tens of thousands of people how to sell, how to make more money, and how to make money. And in that journey, I've been very blessed to work alongside and learn from the likes of Blair Singer, Robert Kiyosaki, and many other people like the Rich Dad Advisors and those type of people. My passion is teaching and training. It's my purpose. My mission is, funny enough, my mission is Africa, and I'm very clear on that. My mission and my purpose is to make a significant positive impact on the entrepreneurial and business landscape of this amazing continent that I am blessed to live on. So that gives you a little, I suppose, a little synopsis of me.
I love your story and your journey. And there is another element to sales, which is what I experienced, and that is the fear of selling. The fear is around the fact that you're going to earn an income from what you have to sell. And that was the hurdle I had to get over. And how I got over that was well, I've created this product and I need to get it to market so that I can impact lives. So that if I train 100 therapists, well, thousands of patients will benefit.
Yeah.
And so it has a lot to do with our mindset. And you're absolutely right. I think the other passion of mine is this ongoing quest for financial freedom, because I do feel that that can also be a scary world, particularly in the medical profession. We're not accustomed to talking about money, talking about making money, being wealthy. We should be understated and we should be altruistic, and we should really focus just on delivering and being a service provider. But again, I overcame that idea because I do believe that the more money you have, the more people you can help, the more things that you can do with that money. And then you can make different choices about how you deliver your services. So you can do more charitable work. You can, treat more patients for free because you don't need the money, because you're doing other things that are intelligent to make that money grow. And it was your second training that I went on, Mastering Your Financial Genius, which was an absolute eye-opener for me. I adored learning how to play the cash flow game. And we've since bought the investment game, and we play. Yeah, we play a lot with our son, and he's incredibly financially savvy. He started selling sherbet at school this week. He was making hundreds of rands every day, was so excited, and then they banned sherbet selling. So he was devastated. And I said, but my boy.
So he had his first experience of government, because that's what it is.
Exactly.
Is if you and that's the rules of money. If you don't play to the rules, you'll lose your money.
Yeah.
And you'll lose the ability to play. And I think it's a wonderful lesson for him, because the first lesson is, I got out and did something that scared most people. I needed to make some money, so I'm selling some sherbet. And then I learned that, hey, it's against the law. It's against the government. Whether he agrees with it or disagrees with it is irrelevant. He doesn't make those rules.
Exactly.
And that's, when it comes to making money, when it comes to sales, there's rules. They're rules, whether we like them or not. And the problem with so many people in the world today is they think to make money, you have to break all the rules. And that is nonsense. You don't. You have to understand what those rules are, and you have to learn how to play to those rules. The problem is most people are not taught the rules of the wealthy.
Exactly.
And that's the mindset shift.
Exactly.
Is understanding the rules of the wealthy.
Well, and also what's written on your shirt, discipline. Being disciplined to play by those rules.
Everything comes down to discipline. Everything. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you want to do. You want to get healthy, it comes down to discipline. You want to make money, it comes down to discipline. It all comes down to this. Interesting. I've been on a massive quest recently around discipline. I've recently just finished a 40-day raw fruit and smoothie juicing fast. And a lot of people said to me, "Why are you doing it? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to get fit?" I said, "No, those will be the results that come out of it. I'm doing it because I need to get. I really need to get discipline, and I'm at a much higher level, And the deal around mastery, Robin, is when you can master one area of your life, you can transition that mastery into all other areas of your life. And most people are not trying to master one area of their life.
Absolutely.
So I mean, is it okay if I transition back to where you started on sales? Because I'm going to go back. The first thing that you have to learn how to master is this. Because the first and most important sale of all, and that's what you were talking about just now, and that's what you learned in my program, The Sales Explosion, is the sale we make to ourselves and the sale we make to that little thing called our little voice. Because those fears, those anxieties, those worries, they bring up that little voice. And so, most of the stuff I teach is not, generally, it's not practical selling. You've seen that. Most people want to know the doing. Teach me how to do it, Barry. Teach me the script. Teach me how to speak to people. Teach me how to do that. But the reality is, if you can't get out of the fear of actually speaking to someone, of launching your product, of doing all that sort of stuff, well, what's the point of knowing all the skills? So there's two sales. There's the sale you make to yourself, and there's the sale you make to other people. The most important sale of all is the sale you make to yourself and to your little voice. The bigger the game you want to play in life, the bigger the sale you have to make to yourself. and that's sales. So
absolutely. And I think some have an innate ability to know exactly what to do. It comes quite naturally to them. Others, it really doesn't. And that, I also believe, has a lot to do with your upbringing. What were you told as a child?
Let me comment on that a little bit, because a lot of people say to me, talent is very important. Sure, it's important, but you may have the gift to communicate, but if you're not prepared to listen, well, then you can just speak. So sales is a learned skill. I wasn't taught how to sell. I learned to sell. I went to sales training courses. In that first 3 weeks, when I realized that sales equals income, income equals life, I made a decision in my life that I wanted to learn how to sell. I wanted to learn how to sell. That to the extent that 6 months later, I moved jobs for 50% reduction in earnings so that I could work for a sales trainer who promised me he'd teach me everything he knew about sales. So I realized then it was the knowledge that I needed in sales that would ultimately give me the money. I didn't move for money. Most people are making decisions based on money.
Yes.
So I learned to sell. I've been in training, Robin, for 15 years. My single biggest fear 16 years ago was public speaking.
Okay.
I've spoken around the world. Why? Because of the fear of my little voice. The little voice. What are people going to think? All those type of things. So yes, talent's the one thing, but talent will only take you so far. What'll get you through anything? The best sales guy I think I've ever worked with in my life. When you met him, he would go, "Hey, my name's Ross." He had an unbelievable stutter, but man, could he sell? Could he connect to people? Did he have this energy? Could he get through his little voice? And most people would say, if you have a bad stutter, there's no ways you could be a good salesman.
Yeah.
Well, he just got through the little voice. He was who he was. Connect with me, and that's that. So I think what you're talking about just now around this, it's the single most important thing, and that comes into any area of life. Any area of life.
Absolutely.
Being able to sell you to you. Can you sell you to you? And so that's those are the key things that I'm going to be talking around. And let's face it, you talked about financial literacy and investing, Robin. You sitting on 100,000 and you need to invest it somewhere. Well, what do you have to talk to you? You have to sell to yourself on your little voice. What happens if I lose it? What happens if I don't do this? So and what happens if you can't sell yourself on why you're going to invest it? You'll sell yourself on why you're not going to invest it.
Yes.
Or you'll sell yourself on why you'd rather spend it. So everything is a sale. The question is, who's going to win, the winner or the loser? And that's the gift of this of being able to master your little voice.
And how did you come about developing your program? I mean, that it's obviously evolved over the years. What did you kind of do to make it the success that it is, to get results for your students?
Very simple. I followed a very successful person. The program that I teach today is not my program. I've taught it for 15 years. How did I teach it? I went on a course in Phoenix, Arizona, just over 15 years ago with a guy called Blair Singer, who's one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors. It started off with a 2-day program called Sales Explosion that had a monumental change in my life. And I left that program and said, I want to learn how to do what this man does. I spent the next 10 years following him, learning from him, understudying him. I traveled around the world, not to take a photograph with him and say, oh, look at me and Blair Singer. I'm not interested in that stuff. That doesn't float my boat at all. I followed him around the world so that I could learn from him. I paid to go and work in his events. And through that I got to partner with him. I built a franchise with him, and I learned from him. And many people said to me, you must start your own program and develop your own. I said, you don't understand. This program is unique. And that's what I did, is I took that program. Over 15 years, I've grown myself, and I've invested huge amounts of time, effort, energy, and money in personal development in myself. And I'm confident enough to say that I have mastered what Blair Singer does, because that's what I went on the journey to do, to master what he does. And since then, I've started developing some of my other programs. But my core program is still Sales Explosion, the program I learned 15 years ago. And that's the program I learned from Blair.
Why reinvent the wheel? If it's not broken, why fix it?
Well, the world, I think it's something that really gets me in this world today is that people are not, mastery comes from submitting to following somebody else. And we're in this world today where people are so into, I have to be me and I have to prove that I know everything. I was like, why would I want to do that when I found something that, honestly, I left the States and said, I want to take this back to my country and back to my continent, and I want to help other people the way it helped me. And, I'd been in sales for 15 years by the time I did that program. But it was the mindset shift, and it's the same as the stuff I teach that I learned from Robert Kiyosaki. I didn't reinvent Robert's board game. I have no interest in reinventing Robert's board game. It's the most powerful financial literacy board game you can play. I use it and teach with it. Yeah. So I use such a powerful tool. Use his teachings. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a book that was written 22 years ago. And it is still applicable in today's money. Why? Because it is so simple.
Yep.
It is so simple.
I resonate with you on such a deep level because that is exactly what happened to me. Back in 2002, I went to learn a technique with Judy Colditz, the Sims technique. She became my mentor. I decided I had to master this skill. I spent 25 years mastering it. I then approached her and said, please, can I teach this to other therapists and create an online course, because she was going around the world, teaching it in person. It was right at the point of her retirement. She, handed over her IP to me, which was absolutely incredible. And I created that. And you're right. There's so many people that feel, to make a mark in this world, you have to come up with something that is brand new, that is completely unique. It's not necessary, because you've got to take something and go, what can I do with this? Because it impacted my life, my patients' lives, and I want to help other people do exactly the same thing. So I did the same thing, travel around the world to listen to her lecture, because, the world has changed with technology as well. Back then, we couldn't Zoom to have a meeting, couldn't have a mentoring session online. And if you wanted to learn, you had to be in the room. So I completely get that investment. And there's no need. And of course, along the way, you're going to do things that are yours, and you're going to create little things that are yours.
It becomes you, though, doesn't it? Like, over a period of time, it becomes me. I'm not Blair Singer, but I do what Blair Singer does in a room, if that makes sense. I'm me. Exactly. And people will connect with me because I'm me. So I've never tried to pretend to be Blair, but I've taken all his methodologies. And, you come into my room, there's flip charts that I learned 15 years ago that I draw in exactly the same colors that I learned them 15 years ago. Yeah, I didn't change it. I might not like green, blue, red, and black, but guess what? That's the colors that he used. Those are the colors I use. I might prefer purple. I didn't change to purple. Why? Because that wasn't the system. Now, it doesn't mean I don't tweak and change, but at the end of the day, I have a simple philosophy. There are core principles and core practices that when you get those things right, those form the foundations of everything. And I believe that's true in any environment. When it comes to sales, there's core principles and practices. When it comes to making money and creating wealth, there's core principles and practices. When it comes to bedside manner, there's core principles and practices.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And the same principle applies with this technique. You use plaster of Paris, you do not use thermoplastics. I get questioned and challenged all the time. I can use thermoplastic. No, Judy Colditz designed the technique with plaster of Paris. You cannot, and I will never use thermoplastic. There's no shortcuts in life sometimes.
That makes me laugh, because that plaster Paris is about as archaic as this tool sitting behind me, which is called a flip chart.
Exactly.
And you know what? All the way through lockdown, even Blair went on to iPad and writing on there. And I said, I don't teach on iPad. And I put up a camera and I put up my flip charts. I created my studio and I taught it in exactly the same way. Why? Because my belief is that's what creates the biggest impact. And that's the effect that I had on me. Now, right or wrong, I don't know. But I look back and go, in 15 years, it's worked. It works when I go, and it creates the impact that I believe that I want to create. So, when I do this, when I'm speaking for you on the platform, I'm going to be teaching on flip
Mhm.
charts,
Yes.
and that's the way it works.
Well, I cannot wait for people to attend your classes because I just know that how exhilarating they are. It's a pity they can't do the live arrow, break it in the nape of your neck exercise.
Well,
And
they can if they prepare to come to South Africa, and we are and
yes.
at some stage where they are in South Africa and join one of my sales explosions. But we'll talk about that at a later stage. But yeah, really excited to be with you guys. I mean, it intrigues me and makes me laugh because so often, especially when I work with learned people like doctors and in the medical profession, in terms of that, I'm generally the most uneducated person because that's been my journey. I still have no formal qualification, but and it's always a laugh because it just shows me that in all areas of life, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you have, if you actually apply yourself, you get through that little voice, you can create results. So it's always a real honor for me, helping people that make such a difference. And the medical profession is essential. And I do know, and maybe it's a little bit off topic, but one of the things that I do know is over time the medical profession is, especially with technology and with the robots and all that sort of stuff,
Changing.
AI and all that stuff
Mhm.
coming, medical profession is under attack, and that'll create lots of little voices.
Yeah,
But I have a philosophy: human to human behavior will never go away.
never.
And if COVID did one amazing thing, it showed us that human beings need human beings because we need to be together, not do together. And
Mm.
being is feeling, touch, all that sort of stuff. And in the medical profession, that's the gift you guys bring. Is when people are in pain, when people are sore, when people are hurting, they
Mm.
don't want to speak to a machine. They want to have someone put their hand on their shoulder, say, it'll be okay, and be rest assured. And that is the art of selling. That is the art of connection and communication. And the
Absolutely.
better you get at that, the more needed you are. So
I 100% resonate with that too, because during COVID, we all set up virtual clinics, and I treated a patient with a complex wrist fracture online. I literally met his wife at Woolworths to give her a little pack so that she could use that pack in our sessions, and we did everything online. And eventually, when we were allowed to have patients back in the rooms, he came to see me. And I was just so happy to touch his hands again. And I knew I was never going to be a virtual therapist. It's not for me.
technology has amazing places, Robin. Amazing. Like now, to be able to do this, to connect, to save time, I understand that. But the reality is if you and I were sitting and we were about to do a big deal, I
Mm,
wouldn't do it online. I would come and sit with you in the office, look at you in the eyes, get the sense and the feeling. And so it's managing technology as well as managing human to human interaction. And that's really what selling is. It's the ability to communicate with other people, find out what they want, and help them get it.
can I
That's
tell
it.
you something funny? Because I know that about you. At 10 past 9, my buzzer, the house buzzer went, and I thought, Barry's arrived here. I thought, oh my goodness. And I had to check with myself. Did I send a Zoom link? Are we doing this on Zoom? I thought he's an in-person guy, and would be better off in a studio with 2 seats sitting opposite each other and having our conversation. So
Yeah.
I had that moment, not
Don't worry. At 10 past 9, I was trying to recover. I just finished a CrossFit workout, so there's no ways I was going to be in front of you.
well, that's the other beauty, is that we can fit so much more into our lives because we don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the
So,
fact that I can bring you to my audience around the globe. I have obviously built an international audience over the last 4 years. And I'm very fortunate that they trust that when I deliver a program, it's going to be only of the highest caliber individuals. And so I'm so excited and honored to have you present the two programs. And I just want to thank you for your time, and also thank you for letting people get to know a little bit more about you.
well, Robin, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be able to speak and teach. And yeah, and you know, I take that very seriously. You know, one of the very first things I was given when I started becoming a teacher and going into the training profession, someone gave me a scripture, and that scripture was very simply said, teachers will be judged more harshly than others.
Mm.
And that stood with me because you know, teaching and helping people grow is a big responsibility in terms of what we have to put across.
Mm.
And so yeah, you know, thank you. It's a great honor, and I really look forward to you know, meeting your community and hopefully adding a lot of value to their lives so that they can add value to other people's lives. So yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, see you on the 23rd of September. No, joking.
No, 10th.
It's okay.
And everybody, this is a live performance. So people must, when the program is released in the next day or two, you must schedule that time and attend Barry's session live. You just won't regret it. It is honestly life-changing, and I feel forever indebted to you for what you did for me. So thank you, Barry.
Robin, thank you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, see you soon. Thanks, everyone.